Hello everyone! The New Year event is here in April once again with our, super late seasonal events, but that is fine. This one's really important, and it's actually really important for everyone, not just because of the character, but because of some things we got in the mail, specifically this memoria right here. Very happy about this. If they skipped New Year's, we wouldn't get this, and this would be a huge problem. Basically, what this memoria does is its item charge. You do get 5 of them over the next 5 days, and it'll be 10% at max rank, which means it skips an extra turn of item charge, basically, right? So you use this memoria, and you can get your items on turn 5 instead of on turn 6. Very, very, very powerful. It's pretty meta. It goes on basically every team. You definitely want to unlock it. You don't leave these separate, so look forward to that. That's very cool. And we also got tickets in the mail, which is awesome. Let's just go up here, grab the tickets. And there's a few other things that are coming with this event and in the future to look forward to. Specifically, a few changes soon. Recipe adjustment coming with Chapter 7, which will be on the 6th, so in about 10 days. What this means is that all of the, early chapter recipes, early extra recipes up to like Chapter 3, such as things like Charade Lumont and other really expensive, really powerful recipes like that, will be lowering in cost, material costs. So right now, Charade Lumont costs like some 100 some stamina to make a single one of, and that'll be going down to like 20 stamina each, maybe even 10, I don't remember. It's significant. So if you want to make any of those extra recipes, you can start stockpiling the materials now. Charade Lumont, especially for Ryza, is going to be her best in slot armor, really good breaker armor. So when that goes down, when the recipe cost goes down, you want to make those. And there's a few other things too, but that's like kind of the big one. This does not affect tower recipes. Those will not be going down in cost, so keep that in mind. Or any event recipes. It's specifically like the first 3 chapters of story and extra recipes. And then they're also removing all of the meaningless score battles, which is cool. All of the little dots, they're just swapping it so you only have to do the 4 main battles. That's awesome because score battles are a bit tedious every chapter. And then there's this fixed battle panels, and this starts with Chapter 8, which will be at the end of May. I will go over this more when this happens. There's upsides and downsides to this. I personally don't really like it, but I will talk about my thoughts on this more in depth when it actually happens. If you watch my streams of playing on JP, you would know how I feel about this, but it's interesting. But yeah, and that's it basically for the updates. I will just go ahead and first, we have 2 things in the shop. We do have the tickets for the current banner, which I do recommend buying because Mari is quite good. However, since we have about 2 weeks for the banner, you may want to hold off on the tickets, and if you have any gems left over for today, maybe consider using them on Ryza or Christmas or Izana, right? Because all of those units are very good. They are going away today, so it may be better to, spend all your gems on those characters right now and try and get enough gems for the tickets over the next 2 weeks. For Mari, I would recommend doing that instead of what I'm doing right now, but that's fine. I'm going to use the tickets for content. And then we have this New Year Lucky Bag Pack. This is obviously worth buying. It costs 2,000 coal. 2024 for 2024. Like, there's no reason not to buy this. It's just a bunch of boards. So okay, and off to the gacha to look at the character and memoria. One thing that's really, really, really nice about this banner is it's a solo character banner, and that means that Mari is 1% pickup rate instead of, split between 2 characters. If you get the pickup character, you get Mari, and instead the memoria are split. So we haven't had a solo banner since Meru a couple months ago. So yeah, if you do want Mari, it's not a bad idea to go after her if you're not broke after the past month, right? Like, everyone's basically broke right now, so That's why I basically just recommend using tickets here for like free to play, because she is quite good as a character. But one thing that's really nice after the past month, like everyone's broke right now, there will be, after Mari, there's going to be a little bit of a, there's going to be some downtime for good units, because the next banner and the banner after aren't worth rolling on at all. The banner after that is kind of mediocre. The banner after that is fine, but you can take it or leave it. So we have 4 banners in a row that like you don't really need to roll on, and then after that we start getting good banners again. So there's going to be some downtime after this one, and you don't even need to roll for Mari either if you don't want to, but she is really, really strong, and I will go over that after the memoria. First off, we have a speed memoria, so this is 12% speed, with an effect that doesn't really matter. If you get this, you're pretty happy if you don't have speed memoria already, because speed memoria are really nice for speed tuning, but it's not special. It's not any better or worse than other speed memoria that we already have, especially in the general pool. You would never unlock this with memory crystals. Then we also have this ice crit damage one for Mari. It's magic attack statted. It's a good magic attacker memoria, of course, but you wouldn't ever roll for this. You wouldn't use memory crystals on this, and it looks better than it actually is. 85% crit damage at max rank might be a really large number. However, we start getting a lot more crit damage in the future from other sources, such as Flock, such as crit damage trait, and really good gear. So this actually loses a lot of value and ends up not being worth unlocking at all. So yeah, pretty mediocre memoria here, as expected. And then the character herself, Mari. And Mari is basically, who the heck asked for a 5th ice attacker? Why did they do this to us? She is an ice attacker. She is our 5th one. No one wanted this. However, out of the ice attackers, she is the best one, by far. She's incredibly powerful. In fact, she is arguably one of the strongest single target attackers in the game. It sort of depends on whether you need more sustained damage or more burst damage. Mari is really good at very high sustained damage. She's also quite cute. But yeah, let's just go ahead and look through her kit real quick. First, she has a passive where she gets skill damage after critting, and this ramps up, after 3 turns. It's not bad. She does give herself critical chance, so you will get crits off of her for free. So this will stack up fairly quickly. It's synergistic with the rest of her kit. And then Fortune's Favor, this passive is the one that kind of makes her kit work. And I'll go over this after I go over her skills, because it won't make much sense until you see her skills. So Mari is basically, she's a combo attacker. She's kind of the first combo attacker we have in the game. Basically what she does is her skill 2 is massive damage, 500% damage rate. That is the same damage rate as a max limit break character's burst skill. Ryza's skill 2 is 450%, so 500% damage rate on her skill 2. Absolutely absurd. This skill does so much damage. It also gets 20% crit damage for free. However, after using it, she does 30% less damage for 2 turns. She gets that debuff. So you use the skill and then, she does less damage on the next turn, right? And it gets a bonus to crits, so she doesn't need to have crit chance. The intent here is that it's comboed with her skill 1. So you alternate between them, and what the skill 1 does is before attacking, removes negative effects. So basically that'll remove the skill damage debuff from the skill 2. So if you use skill 2 and skill 1, it removes the debuff. And also it will give her guaranteed crit on the next turn. So if you use skill 1, then skill 2 will crit. So yeah, you're supposed to sort of alternate between these, and she combos like that. And then we also have her burst, which is only 500% damage rate at max limit break. It's 400%, at 3-star. So the burst is actually very often weaker than the skill 2. However, it will remove all negative effects and also grant immunity to negative effects for 3 turns. So, you can burst in place of a skill 2, and it means that she can skill 2 for like 3 turns in a row without getting this debuff. However, it won't be guaranteed crits because you're not using the skill 1. However, where it all ties together and stops being, like, it feels awkward, right? It sounds awkward. You have to, skill 1, skill 2, you can't really shuffle the timeline very well. She's really, forced into this very rigid and strict skill order. However, her passive changes that, because when she defeats an enemy, she removes negative effects and gets a guaranteed crit on her next attack. So when she kills something, she gets the effect of her skill once. So as long as you are killing something with the skill 2, she can just do it again and again, and they will all be crits. Absolutely, like, just really, really, really strong for just picking up enemies, smaller enemies in dungeons or whatever, and then, or just any content really, right? So you take out one, then she's probably going to one-shot everything else over the next few turns, and probably do enough damage for the boss as well, because that 500% damage rate with a ton of magic attack is just really, really, really good. So she is going to be the strongest single target attacker we have for a while, but she's not really necessary, right? Especially if you have the meta setup with like Izana, slash Ryza, Liddy, like Izana's kind of good enough. You don't really need Mari, and you can skip her. Like, you don't need her, but she is fun to use. Her kit can feel a little awkward until you get used to it, but as long as you keep track of making sure that her passive stays up, she's really powerful, really rewarding to play, and she just does a ton of damage. Like, she is really, really, really good. Her gifts are nothing special, but yeah. Yeah, I would recommend using tickets on her. She's solid. She's not quite Spark tier, but she's quite good. And yeah, speaking of Spark tier, I did want to go over that a little bit, because I think a lot of people that, you know, don't spend money or are very close or already there with their medals, and they're wondering like who to Spark, right? So, you know, I'm at 143 myself, very close. In my opinion, out of the characters released right now, the top Spark is Liddy, period. If you don't have Liddy, in my opinion, the top Spark is Liddy, out of the characters released right now. And then I would put Ryza second. And I would say no one else is really worth sparking as F2P, just Liddy and Ryza. What I will probably do personally is in a month and a half-ish, give or take, we will be getting the Arland Winter event, and with that will come Defender Totori, and that's who I sparked on JP, and I'm going to probably spark Defender Totori again if I don't get her for my tickets in gems. So that's my recommendation for a spark. You do have to wait a while if you want to spark now. Definitely Liddy. You can't go wrong with Liddy or Ryza. However, starting with chapter 9, so when we get Rose units, and then in about 2 months, there will be a selector banner for 3 days, and that will include every unit up to Christmas, and you get to select 2 of them. So you can select Liddy and Ryza from that selector, you just get to choose them. It is paid only, you can't get it with free gems. If you haven't bought the double packs, it will be about $40. So, you know, if you're not like completely free to play, but you're not a whale either, like if you're willing to put down like $40 for the game, like save your medals, use the selector on Liddy and Ryza or Izana, like whoever you're missing from the current units, and don't necessarily spark them, right? If you're willing to wait a couple months and just spend a bit of money, you can fill in these units without dumping into your medals, and it's a really, really good deal. You know, supporting the game, supporting the devs, keeping global alive. Like if you play the game a lot, $40 isn't really that much, so consider that. But yeah, there's a lot of things to think about. I don't personally think Resna or Patty are worth sparking. Izana you can make an argument for, but overall, if you're willing to spend the money, just wait for the selector. And I will personally be sparking Totori because she is that good. So not really that she's like the best unit. She is a very high tier unit. She's at the top tier. But not only is she like a fairly top tier unit, like she's not necessarily better than Liddy, but she is the best synthesis unit as well as being very, very good. So yeah. And let's see, I guess last thing to go over is I'll go over some recipes, and then we will do the polls. I'm gonna go over the new recipes for the event and the Ryza challenge recipes as well, because people have been asking about that. So the recipes for this event are basically trash. Only one of them is any good in my opinion. And I just, like, you can just waste the materials on these to try and get good traits if you don't know what to make. Because, you know, traits are more important than the actual item effect itself, even though we are starting to get stronger and stronger item bases nowadays. But yeah, these items just, they're not really good. The only decent one is the Fortune Staff, which is, when equipped to an attacker, boosts critical damage for single target attacks by 24%. This is very decent. It's nice that it's generic for attackers. It is magic attack, but it works for any element, but it doesn't work for AoE, so it's not good for Izana. It's not good for Christmas Resna, but it is good for Mari. It's good for Ryza. It's good for, you know, any of your single target attackers that are magic. However, it is worse than books from the Affinity Tower. Like, Affinity Tower weapons are going to be better than this, so it will be cheap because it's event mats. It's a really solid, cheap weapon to make for attackers, but it's not best in slot. So other than that, the rest of them, in my opinion, are not super worth making. The Longevity Mallet, there are things you can do with this. It's when you crit, reduce damage received by 3%, going up to 15% at a maximum. There are some meme setups you can do with Patty for this, because 15% damage reduction stacking with her other damage reduction is a lot, because remember, damage reduction is additive. Patty is probably the only character I would consider using this item on, but the setup is kind of clunky and not really worth it over just using her sword, her Christmas sword, the weapon intended for her. But if you really want to just completely max out on damage reduction, and you have a comp that's capable of maxing this out through crits, like, go for it. But it's not good. Like, it's objectively not good. It's just kind of fun. Then we have the Kimono. This is intended for Mari, where it boosts the damage of her skill 2. I wouldn't bother making this over something like the Light Vest from Chapter 6, which increases magic attack instead. So, and it's more generic, so this item's basically worthless. We have this one, after critting, boosts skill damage by 5%. This isn't particularly good. Because the ramp is too slow, 5 turns of crits to get to 25% skill damage. It's still decent for armor, but once again, I really wouldn't bother making this over something like the Light Vest. And then we have this, which is just a healing item for attackers. However, it's limited to skill 1. It is 0 speed, which is worth noting, but overall, not particularly good. And then the Envelope, which is stun damage after critting, and your breakers aren't really going to be critting, and we just have better breaker accessories than this. In general, you want your stun damage early and not late. You don't want ramping stun damage, you want immediate stun damage at the start of the fight, usually. So this thing also not good. So yeah, these recipes, they're weird and they're not good. Then I'll go over the Ryza challenge stuff real quick. Reliable Alchemist Staff, it's just an early game beginner item. You wouldn't make this. It's just not good enough. The Grass Beans, however, these remove negative effects and restore HP to the ally with the lowest HP. This, I believe, is the same effect as the Tran Heal Salve. But it's cheaper. It's, I believe, just strictly worse, but it does have, I think they both have 3 uses, so like, there's not really any reason to make these, I think. But I might be wrong. I would have to go check. If you do need that effect and the Tran Heal Salve is bad for some reason, I think it's the same though, with more healing. Anyways, then we have the Kukin Sweats. These are good for Patty. Very good for Patty. Just slash character with HP restore. It's a good general slash armor for slash characters in general. But for attack, it's mostly for Patty. Like, you would rather use a Shurei Luma on Ryza, you would rather have damage on Logi, but it's still fine, but quite good on Patty. And then the Exorcism Brooch. this is an accessory that does damage, 15% burst skill damage with 10 speed, but it increases your damage received by 20%. This item is trash. Don't make this. The damage taken is not worth it. Like, the trade-off is just not worth it. If this was like 70% burst skill damage, it might be worth it, but 15% is not enough, so this item's bad. Then we have the Explosive Uni, which is just an attack item. It targets one enemy. Not good. Not much else to say about that. Then we have Traveler's Coat, which is just a generic damage reduction on an armor, but it's only 2%, so it's okay if you really want to stack up that damage reduction. However, we will be getting better options than this, but not many. So if you're really trying to do like a gimmicky set where you go for near like damage immunity on like a defender like Patty, you can, this might be an option, but it's in general not good enough. Then we have the Heavy Bulwark, which is stun damage for Bolt Affinity after attacking weakness. And like I said before, you really don't want your stun damage to be rampy. You want it immediate and upfront. So this item just sucks. Then we have the Memoria Bracelet, finally a good one. This is obviously the best in slot accessory for Izana right now, and pretty much any bolt attacker. 20% crit damage on an accessory is a ton. Accessories are not really a damage slot in general. We have like Fancy Ring now and like this Memoria Bracelet, but there aren't that many accessories with damage on them, so 20% is good. I would prefer this to be a better mix of stats with HP instead of speed, but you know, 10 speed's still fine. It's just a little awkward for speed tuning, but usually your attackers like Izana are slow enough that it's fine. You really want your attackers to kind of be going last a lot of the time. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Then we have the Craftleo. This is one of the more interesting items in the entire set. It does stab stun damage to the enemy with the highest max HP. So this is the only usable item we have that does stun damage. So if you specifically need stun damage, it's 120% stun damage. I don't believe it's affected by any traits. And it's stab attribute, single target. So it's very decent. It's very niche. You don't use it very often, but it's a good usable item if you absolutely need it. I have used it for various things before. So, you know, it's just one of those options to, you know, keep in the back of your mind. It's an extra tool in the arsenal of usable items that may or may not occasionally be quite useful, right? So, not terrible at all. Then we have the Holy Torrent. This weapon is useless. It boosts skill damage by 16% when the attack target has status effects. And this can be good on Christmas Resna because she, you know, inflicts the brittle effect before she attacks, right? However, most late game enemies have very high resistance or complete immunity to status effects. So this is just not reliable. It's not worth making over better options, especially tower weapons. Like, this thing sucks. It's so bad. All right, Bell of Disruption. This is the new best in slot breaker accessory. 10 speed, which is what you want on breakers. You want your breakers to be fast. There are really speedy breakers like Slash Ryza where the extra speed can actually cause problems because you generally want her going right before your attacker, but after your like supports and defenders and stuff because of her debuffs. But for most of your other breakers, the 10 speed is like godsend, helping them go earlier. And yeah, it's just really good. It boosts stun damage by 18%. It is only 2 turns, but like I've said before, generally you want the upfront stun damage and the fight will just work itself out from there more often than not. You really want to get stuns out early. So that 18% from one item effect, that's nearly another level 5 stun trait from a single item effect. So this item's very good and it's generic. It's good for any breaker. So this is kind of the the go-to breaker accessory from now on. Highly recommend making a lot of these. As you can see, I've stockpiled a lot of materials. I just don't really make them because I don't have the characters to like make them well yet, but yeah, I have a lot of materials for this one. Very, very, very strong item. All right, 3 left. We have the Exotic Armor. At the start of a wave, restores own HP by 20%. Now that's a pretty crazy amount of healing. You can So we don't really have wave battles very much yet, but kind of the use case for this is you can use it as like a last resort clutch item for dungeon sustain if you really want to. I've never really used it before. It's not really worth making in general, but like you can. It's not a bad item at all. There are just like better things to spend your resources on, in my opinion. But like it's fine. It has uses. That's a ton of recovery, right? So it can be very, very useful for things like dungeon sustain. And 2 more, Poison Smoke. Poison Smoke is the first item we have that inflicts poison. So for any of you that have been, you know, tackling Affinity Tower, you know, like how useful this item actually might be. Because until we got this item, the only source of poison in the entire game was Cordelia, a fairly mediocre 1-star unit. So, you know, it's pretty cool. There are certain floors in Affinity Tower that do require poisons for you to do damage. So having access to this plus Cordelia does help make those floors a little bit easier to get through. So very, very solid item. And then the Astro Donut, which is just a, you know, skill damage when target is stunned. This item's actually very decent. It's slightly better than Ebinyal, and it applies to all allies, not just attackers. But it's only 1 turn, so that kind of kills it. That's kind of the problem. They made the buff only 1 turn instead of 2, and that basically just kills it. So, unfortunate there. I am not quite sure why they decided to do that. I don't think it would have been too OP otherwise, but yeah, the 1 turn clause on the buff kind of destroys the item. And yeah, that's it for all the recipes. I hope this was useful, and let's just go do the pulls. This video is starting to drag on. There's a lot to cover, despite only having 1 character. I believe we have 4 daily pulls to start off with this one. We had the last daily pulls for all of the Ryza challenge banners, so we'll start with Ryza and, you know, not get Ryza, but that's fine. Yeah, nothing here. Just a Marion. Once again, no Ryza for me. That's fine. Don't care too much about the Izana daily pull. I do already have a Izana. I mean, Leela would always be nice, but we're not expecting anything there. The Christmas one, though. Oh my god, it's another Marion. So this is how it goes, huh? Just endless Marions. You know, it would be pretty funny if I get Mari on the first set of tickets, and then I'll like cry about wasting money on the tickets. Oh well. Yep, nothing there. Or even if I got Marion off the daily. Or sorry, Mary, not Marion. We got plenty of Marions. Mari. It's the same. It's the same name. Okay, last daily. And tickets. 30 tickets to go through. No winks. This one's doomed. Oh, this one is so doomed. Alright. Ready for the 10 tiles. I should just skip at this point. We already know it's nothing. Ouch. There's no Tau yet. I have not seen Tau yet. That's crazy. What if we go through 35 whole pulls without seeing Tau? That would be like a new record. 34? 34. Oh, we got the winks. Alright. But do we have gold sparkles? Come on. Okay, we got silver sparkles. So we do have a 3-star in here. Probably not pick up. I want either Mew or Bolt Resna. Mew would be nice so I can start tackling Stab Tower. But Bolt Resna would be cool. I'm sure it's just like Rorona or something, but no, that's fine. It's Yudi. Please don't piss me like that. Couldn't be Keith. Guess we'll find out. Oh my god, it's actually Yudi, isn't it? Why is it Yudi? Why did she do this to me? Oh god. Alright, anyways, there's another Yudi for the pile. And last set of tickets. Okay, we got 1 wink from Resna. Usually that means it's bad. I haven't had good experiences with the single wink off Resna, but maybe we'll get a fake out or something. And Mari will show up. Nope. Eska. Shelly. Marian. Did I get a Tau in the last one? Did we get no Taus? Got a lot of Marians today. Alright, cool. Totally destroyed. That's fine. I hope your pulls go better than mine, especially if, you know, you're doing your final pulls on Ryza or Christmas or something like that. Anyways, thanks for watching, everyone. I hope this video was helpful, and I will see you all in the next one for Chapter 7 release. Yep. See y'all later. Bye-bye.